Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
everybody.
Oh, everybody. I said hi to you first. Sorry.
Hello.
Hi, everyone on Facebook and our website. I hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday night. Getting ready for some
Hooray.
fun City Lyric Opera Retro with us.
Yes, we have a lot to talk about this evening. So, we're going to be diving into our main stage production from our second season, which was Donizetti's Elixir of Love.
Woo!
Yeah, so we figured we'd take a couple of minutes to kind of get everybody situated, let you know what was going on and who you're going to see. So we will be talking with our stage director and artistic director of that season, Jessica Harika, first, and then the fabulous soprano Christine Lyons, second of this evening. So we're very excited to welcome our wonderful, wonderful guests.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We're excited. But before we do, let's talk about the lead up to Elixir, because that season, the last CLO Retro, we talked about, how Cenerentola was just the poofy dream of like the most amazing way to start an opera company.
Absolutely. Yes. So we were riding this beautiful high off of Cenerentola, and two baby naive opera producers decided that we, after doing one show, could do 3 shows the next year.
Yeah, why not? Obviously.
That logic makes sense. And
let's not start with a walk. Let's just sprint.
Yeah, exactly. Just like running head first into a brick wall. It was great. We ended up planning or programming 2 full operas and 1 cabaret-esque opera experimental show, which was also equally wonderful. We kind of gave Jessica like some general guidelines, and it made something happen in that one. It was a really, really cool show. So for some context for our viewers, that season, our second season, we did Puccini's Gianni Schicchi in November of 2017. Yeah. And then in February of 2018, we did an opera-ish of Romeo and Juliet at the Duplex, and then decided to go out with a bang that season with Elixir of Love in May. Yeah.
So we had our second season was 3 shows, and we had to cast all 3 shows. And we had crazy fun times in auditions. I don't want to talk too much about it because we want to talk to Christine about her audition later.
Yes.
But needless to say, it was absolutely stellar.
Yes.
But everything else leading up to it was, as you're young, you bite off too much, and it was a learning experience, right, Megan?
Oh God, yes. I think that, I mean, looking back, we make a lot of broad jokes about season 2 as just biting off a lot more than we can chew. But in general, I was very, very proud of the season that the company I think pulled off by the skin of our teeth and a lot of things. When Jessica gets here, we can talk about, some midnight car rides, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. car rides into Virginia with one of our board members, maypoles sticking out of cars on the West Side Highway. Like, there were definitely some crazy adventures with this one and trying to pull off a show. I just think like staging a show with a full double cast and a chorus and children actors in 3 weeks is
that's a big adventure for anyone.
What? Crazy.
And then for us to think that it was, oh yeah, this will be fine, it'll be great. I mean, fortunately we had an incredible team and it was fine. We got great reviews and people loved it. But you learn. Growing pains.
Absolutely. You live and you learn. And I think that show in particular was full of some really, really powerful learning experiences and some really wonderful things.
Ultimately, it really shaped us as a company, though, I think.
Totally. I think Elixir in particular was kind of this launching pad into a lot of some really good growth for the company. There was like that whole season was just full of some like really important decisions, really important learning experiences, and some really good growth. Yeah, in general. Yeah.
Should we dive in?
Let's dive in. So we would love to welcome our first guest, Miss Jessica Harika, coming on.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
Hi.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So, hi. I mean, gave kind of a general broad overview of the season. But a big question for you is, what on earth possibly possessed you into saying yes to something as insane, insane as this show?
Well, when I first met you all and we were sitting down to see if we would work well together, we have like what I call compatible crazy. Katie had these amazing, obscure ideas of what she wanted for the season. And I thought, these are my people. They are just off the edge enough that we can make some like really amazing art happen. And so I think that was the magic of that season, that it was utter chaos, but that we created some remarkable works. I still work with the Duplex Cabaret Theater where we put up R&J. And one of the technicians there, Armando, constantly asked me, when are you bringing your show back? When is your show coming back?
Armando.
So it definitely touched a lot of people, even if, we stayed up till crazy hours of the night doing all sorts of things.
Yeah, totally.
I like a good challenge, and every parameter, every obstacle in your way is an opportunity to create as an artist.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
I thought there has to be a way, right? There's always a way to get it done. So I figured, with the guts that you all had and, whatever I could bring to the table, we could make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we did. You did so much work. You really saved our butts there. But it was an incredible season if you think about it overall. Like Johnny's, I just remember number one, the super titles I thought were brilliant, which you put amazing work into, and then Romeo and Juliet, which was hilarious and amazing and tragic and entertaining, and it brought opera in a relevant way to people, even though it wasn't the full opera. Mm-hmm. And then finally, like Elixir, this massive piece that we said we're gonna do it with a chorus and children and everybody in full costume, and it was pretty spectacular when you think about it,
Yeah.
Looking back, I don't know how we did it. I honestly don't remember.
Talking to Katie earlier today and kind of trying to reminisce, and I just feel like there are entire days that blend together, just like entire weeks that I have no idea how we slept, how we ate, anything to happen. What happened in that show. I know that like there were points where I know that in 48 hours there was like a trip to Virginia, there was a set build, there was a maypole involved. I think we went to Lowe's at some point, but like all of the details are so hazy when it comes to kind of how we pulled off a show, and what was asked of the actors, what was asked of the staff and the team. I mean, just absolutely incredible to kind of pull something like this together, especially for a company so young and only in their second season. So I guess a question for you, Jessica, is less about Elixir, but more back about what got you interested in directing, in training, in like wanting to kind of create this type of crazy. Be involved in this kind of crazy.
How do you find your people, right?
Right.
I was a baby of musical theater. I never really had any interest in singing opera, studying opera, or pursuing opera. I wanted to be on Broadway. I did show choir. And then I had a great voice teacher that said, oh, you should like sing this Italian song. And it sort of opened up this world to me. Growing up in a trilingual household, all of a sudden, all of these languages were at my disposal, and this really, really beautiful music. And so I started out as a singer and then ran into some vocal trouble. And in my downtime, I had somebody recommend to me a mentor, my opera mom, Melanie Day. She said, well, maybe you should try directing. While you're getting your voice together. This career is long. You have a bigger voice. It might take you till whatever age to sing anyway, garner some skills in the meantime. And so I did. I started studying, and right after I went to Brevard Music Center as a singer and sang Rosina and Barbara of Seville, I went back another summer to apprentice with Dean Anthony and Katora Sticken, which was really amazing. Went back for a second summer, met Joey Evans and Jeffrey Buckman and a whole slew of people. So was really, really fortunate to have some great mentors early on. And then I kept singing and did a few young artist programs all over the country right after my master's. But ultimately, I sort of always had this calling to direct. And so now I work about half and half. I split my time 50-50. I like to take crazy projects where I don't know how it's going to happen, because I think what's most important is making great art with people who also love making good art. And so I've just tried to focus my career around that. That's sort of like my definition of success. So yeah, I didn't mean to direct, but I love it, and now I don't want to stop. So
that's valid. I feel like Megan and I feel the same way. I didn't set out in this career to be a producer.
Yeah.
No.
And here we are. I love it. I wouldn't change it.
But you're great at it.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a learning curve for sure, but it's I'm pretty excited about what has happened over the past now almost 5 years, and looking towards the future, and pretty stoked. So
yeah, definitely. So Jessica, for you, for Elixir, what were some of the highlights from the show? What did you learn? What have you learned since? What sticks out to you about that particular show?
What have I learned? How much time do we have?
We only have like 50 minutes, and we have another guest.
So some highlights from that show. I think that we were really, really fortunate to have this cool space in New York City, which also provided us with a lot of parameters and requirements. So all of a sudden you have a full show and you really can't afford a set, and by afford, I mean, there's no space to put the set. Yep. So
audience is sitting on the stage with you.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's together. It's a family style, gigantic bel canto opera. Sure. Everything. Right. Yeah. So it sort of created this opportunity to put Elixir on its feet in a way that it had never been done before. Mm-hmm. So we sort of chose to stay traditional in some aspects, like Glenn Breed's beautiful, beautiful costumes from Wardrobe Witchery that were just absolutely stunning. Mm-hmm. And which again accompanied time period, keeping it a little more time appropriate. Yeah. But then we were able to play with all sorts of things of putting opera in the round, and being able to play with really amazing dynamic levels and some really intimate, beautiful bel canto singing, because we didn't have orchestra and space to deal with. So I think the thing that stuck with me the most about that production was our amazing artists. Our chorus was ridiculously dedicated. If you do not know Elixir of Love, well, it's a huge chorus show. The show is the chorus is in most of the show. Yeah. And these folks were incredible, dedicated, learned choreography, which getting opera singers to dance, Jesus take the wheel. And so that was one half of the equation. The other half of the equation were these amazing artists, like Christine, who you guys are going to have on in a second, who just came to the table so hungry and so ready to collaborate and try new things and be daring. And, I look at the dichotomy between Christine's Adina and Jessica Niles' Adina, who that was I believe her first Adina, and then she later did it at Chautauqua later in the summer. Mm-hmm. But watching these two singers with very different levels of experience and coming from very different world backgrounds, creating the same character with sort of similar traffic patterns, but really growing into their own. And neither of them very shy about, coming back with me with, I don't like that, or what do you mean, or how do you make this work? Right. And especially because I'm not sure either of them had ever worked in the round before when singing opera. So I think it was a whole, everybody was sort of discovering this new synthesis of collaboration.
Yeah. Isn't it great when you have artists that, are making art and they're making intentional choices and work with you and might push back. And they're just like, hey, what about this? Because this is the way I'm experiencing. I love that. Yeah. And I love that that's, the way that you worked with them. I think that's incredible,
Yeah. And there was such great feedback from the audience too about being in this immersive environment, being in this situation where no seat, no angle was a bad angle, because there was so much happening around you at all times. I will never forget the look, and Katie and I usually spend our shows pacing backstage. But in that venue, there was no backstage. So I remember at the time, looking in Una Furtiva and having our tenor right there. I think it was Fred that night, and having Joan Patno Darnell, my voice teacher at the time, on a bench, like in the middle of the opera, sitting on one of the set pieces, like looking up at this aria that's happening and completely loving it, because she's literally 15, like 2 feet away from an opera singer, which is her favorite place to be in all time. So.
Yeah. I remember my voice teacher at the time was there too. And afterwards she was just like, this is incredible. More young artists needs opportunities for like in the round. You can experience it. You can feel it viscerally. So it was pretty special.
Pretty percent. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that like we were unable to do anything else, but we turned it into something magical,
Right.
I think that's the beauty of opera, is all of these different ideas, coming together.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of creating, right? If you have unlimited, I don't know what the exact quote is, but there's a quote out there about having unlimited resources. It's harder to create, but if you have limitations, it forces you to be creative and innovative in the way you do it. And so,
right.
And we had a lot of those.
Yeah, I feel like that's why that's where we thrive. Finding solutions.
We're good at this.
Yeah. At the end, when people are like, "That was so great and so well that you crafted it," and you're like, "Yep, that was all intentional. We did." Yep.
All of it on purpose.
Very on purpose. Very on purpose.
Every single part of it. Oh my goodness. Also, we never mentioned this at the very beginning. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting the flow. But folks, if you're watching live, feel free to comment and ask questions because we're here to hang.
Yeah, hang out.
If you were at the show, let us know if it looked like, if you felt the same way. That'd be great to know.
Yeah, I feel like, what is it that analogy that people say that's like the duck underwater, that like from the surface it looks fine and looks like everything is happening, and then from the underneath the water it's like all the petals turning. I felt like that was our month and a half of Elixir the whole time.
Yeah.
It's just like,
to be honest, that whole year was a learning curve because we had the falsest reality the year before, and falsest is not a word, but like a false reality of a bubble of what producing opera looked like. And I'm grateful for that sweet moment. But then we got into the year and we were like, learning time, hustling underneath, and then on top just being like, everything's fine.
Well, I think the awesome part of that too, about that particular season with the trajectory of your company, was that that one show that was amazingly successful very early on sparked this entire current of people who were so excited to get on board with this idea that you had. And so not only were you trying to create big art, but you had lots of people at your disposal ready and willing, which I think is a testament to the strength of your company and your mission. So it's also like you did not just grow in one way, you grew in every direction, which was a lot to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's also a testament to small companies when you talk about like grassroots companies, and that makes it sound so much smaller than what it actually is. When we talk about these companies that get formed all over the world, and yours included, and I will ask about that in a hot second, But you talk about these initiatives. It's more than an idea. There's such a drive and such a movement behind these initiatives, and there's a space for us, and there's so many hungry people that are just ready and chomping at the bit for opportunity and for learning and to be part of these collaborative environments. And it's so important to just do the work to create the space and to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I love it. I love grassroots companies all the while. So Jessica, tell us about you. What's on the horizon?
What are you up to? What are you doing? Let's talk. Yeah.
I recently joined the rank of other ridiculous-minded artists and decided to start an opera company in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia, and was really excited to work with Melanie Leinbach, who is a soprano and also works in arts admin, and Jonathan Haney, who I ended up working with at CLO. I met him at Brevard, and then we worked together at CLO. So Melanie's originally from Charlottesville, and Jonathan is from Southern Maryland. So we sort of have this Virginia corridor alike, and then Richmond is very near and dear to my heart. I grew up in sort of a very sterile white suburb, and then went to undergrad downtown. And Richmond is very urban and very, very diverse. And so I feel like I got the full scope of the town through that. And really there's a hole in Richmond where certain people go to certain things and other people go to other things. And there's just no reason for that. The city is way too blended. Young people are way too blended. And so I just feel like these older institutions that are around are not serving the people of Richmond. There's a lot of great music happening in Richmond, but again, it serves that very closed musical community. And Virginia Opera does a lovely job, but they are based in Norfolk. There's nobody on the ground really fostering day-to-day connections. So, and I'd had this dream for about 10 years, and it just, my gut and my heart and my brain and, dollars and everything else sort of aligned. And I thought it was time. So we're really focused on audience diversity, innovative productions, bold works. If we do a war horse, it will be like no other war horse you'll see, because you can probably grab that production somewhere else in state very easily. And yeah, so unfortunately with COVID, we had to cancel our first season ever, which was talk about learning curve. You start a company and the pandemic, and all of a sudden all of your plans are in the garbage can.
What now?
Yeah, exactly.
And you do this.
Yeah, exactly. So we have something similar coming up. We're going to do a talkback series panel discussion called The Dish with River City Opera. And it's part all the things you never thought you could talk about in opera, and part really, really shining a light on the blind spots of where we're not serving either our audiences or our artists or our composers well. So those will be at the end of August, and we'll start pumping out details on that in the next couple of weeks. But that's about it for now. And we had a wonderful audition season and met wonderful artists, and hopefully we can employ them soon.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So cool. I remember having coffee with you just after Elixir, and you were talking about, because I think I'd asked you, like, what are your long-term goals? What's your plan? And you'd mentioned this company. And so I'm so excited to see it come to fruition. I know that COVID is a thorn in the side, but you know what? It's going to be fine. It's going to be great.
I feel like, if you watch the Opera America conference, Timothy O'Leary, opera is 400 years old. If we've made it through other things, we can make it through this.
That's right.
It's been a baby idea in my head for a long time. It's so funny to think about that conversation now. I remember that. And, I remember when I first met you, I was like, I'm thinking about starting a company. And you were like, well, if you wanted to, you would have. And I was like, that's very true, And that came flooding back to me when I had that thought again.
Yeah.
It was sort of like how I knew that I was ready, because I knew in my heart that I was ready.
Yeah, and I feel like it's half timing, it's half leap of faith, and then when something happens like this, no one expected a national global pandemic, and it's been such a time for the entire arts community to kind of take a step back and really reevaluate what's important to us, how we connect with other people, how we continue to make art and persevere through this, and to see so many companies really chomping at the bit to create content, to start conversations, to offer as many opportunities to people as they possibly can is so important and so wonderful in the face of such turmoil,
Yeah. I really think we're going to see the blooming of the small and mid-sized company as larger companies are maybe unable to do what they've ever done in the past. Mid-sized and small companies have flexibility and agility that larger companies backed by lots of older donors just can't. They just they're incapable of those sort of things. It's not afforded to them.
Yeah.
And I think it could not be better timing for the blooming of these size opera companies, for our artists and our composers who are dying for platforms to just share their talent.
Totally.
Because we've seen the hole in the industry growing wider and wider in the past 10 years, and we've sort of been like, oh, we need to fix that. Oh, we need to fix that, and now we have no option, And so I think it's the silver lining to all of this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm drawn back towards our, holding a space event that we had a couple of weeks ago. And we had a couple of really wonderful singers on, and we had a really great panelist that was run by Nehemiah Roll. And I distinctly remember Trevor Martin getting on there and saying, now we have time, and we are afforded the luxury of time, in the sense that now we have no excuse to start making the changes when we talk about race equity in casting, and we talk about our diverse boards, when we talk about fundraising initiatives, when we talk about the kind of representation that we want to have on stage, the kind of art that we want to make now, and the kind of diverse audience that we want to have. The one thing that COVID has afforded us is the time to evaluate the current global scope of things and say, now we can't put that to the back burner. Now our art form cannot put that to the back burner.
Right. There's no reason for us to end up the way we were before we started.
We shouldn't. It would be really sad if the industry was. So.
We'll just forge the path. We'll refuse to let it happen.
If anybody did, at least River City Opera and City Lyric Opera, they're different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us. This has been wonderful. We would talk to you all day if we didn't have a time constraint. Only an hour, and we didn't have to keep going. But thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with everything for the future and for River City Opera. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, y'all. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. Also, you should check out, or I don't know if yes, you're still there. Okay, great. We're getting comments. There are people you should check out. Connections for you.
Okay.
So check it out on Facebook in Richmond.
Excellent.
Yes.
Beautiful. So exciting.
Please follow River City Opera and Jessica Harika. There's her Instagram tag on there, and River City Opera as well, that we will put in all the comments for you to follow and like and share all the information.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. That was fun. That was exciting.
Yay.
Jessica's great. I'm really excited to see what happens with River City.
Me too. I just love that there's so many new companies, so many old companies that have been around for so long that are reprioritizing and really deciding to make a change and to make a positive statement in to move forward. It's been really, really exciting.
Yeah, and especially finding places where opera isn't as accessible. To go back old school, accessible or relatable, enjoyable. So, shall we? I digress. That's the word.
I digress.
Shall we bring in our next guest?
Yes. We would love, please welcome the very fabulous, talented soprano, Christine Lyons.
Yay. Hi, Chris.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, guys. How
You're
are
so
you?
beautiful. Look at this beautiful artwork behind you. You're right behind. You've got this
setup going on.
I know.
It's a new age.
I know. It's this new world where it's like, oh, I have to have a microphone in my apartment. Hello.
Hello.
No, I love this painting behind you. Are you painting?
Thank you. Yes, we paint. We
Oh,
paint
I
here.
love
We're a painter family. This is not one of ours, but we do paint here.
Oh,
There's like
yes.
guitars and ukuleles and banjos over there too. I mean, it's a very eclectic household.
I feel
all the
sounds like heaven.
Yeah,
that
it's
sounds
crazy.
amazing. Oh, so good to see you. I know it's been so long, but also it's been so fun to watch what you've been doing all over, singing your beautiful self.
Absolutely.
So, Megan, I don't have the questions in front of me.
Oh, I have them. So we would love to start off, kind of like I started off with Jessica, and like what possibly, made you or possessed you to audition for a second year young company kind of thing. Yeah. But, looking to do a major bel canto work in our second year, what was your audition experience like? What was kind of your narrative in wanting to audition for a company that you had most likely never heard of?
I have not. I had graduated from a master's in 2016, and after I left, I was singing a lot of Mozart, which was good. It had me in good shape. But I had just sung my first Capuletti, which I loved, and I was booked to sing my first Amenaide in Tancredi. And so when I saw that I could put a little, maybe if I could get cast, I could put a little Donizetti in between that Bellini and Rossini, I was like, I gotta get in that room.
Yeah. That's fair.
Basically.
That's a singer thinking.
Right, exactly. I just started kind of making my foray into bel canto, and I kind of basically as a career strategy now, I chose to sing the roles that I wanted in the smaller places instead of taking some of the work that I've been offered by some larger houses that didn't really resonate with me personally. So it was like an incredible experience. And you know what? I was on that competition circuit singing that Prendi with that cabaletta, making that money, and I was like,
yes, that's the way to do it. That's the way. Well, can we just say your audition was hands down like one of the most moving things we've ever seen.
I will talk about it to this day. I have never cried more in an audition in my whole life. I'm sorry to everyone that's ever auditioned for us. Christine wins hands down.
Yeah, Christine just,
I'm blushing.
Yeah. Oh, don't blush. You own it. You should own it because you are stunning and amazing. That audition, we were sitting there and all day you hear a lot of Adinas. You hear a lot of Prindies. You're like, another, which is not a bad thing. Sing it for us, please. But when you come in and you just owned the room in a way that was just marvelous. Yeah. You came in, you sang it like that was the most stunning thing. The opening of Prendi, right? So like you just did it so perfectly, and that's so important.
Very
you just had us hooked. I know you had us hooked right at the beginning. So I mean, anyways, we've talked a lot about your audition.
I had a good time from start to finish, from my audition to the last day.
Oh,
it's a good match right away, right?
It was wonderful. When you left, we were literally like, "Do you think she'll take it if we offer it to her? Do you think she'll take it?"
Well, I think it's
so much fun.
Oh, I think it's very simple.
I'm so appreciative of getting these opportunities to sing these roles that I feel like maybe I didn't see myself being able to do ever. I mean, when I look and I see what other African American soprano sings Adina, the first thing that comes to mind is Kathy Battle.
Right.
But then we have very different voice types.
Yeah.
So it's really, I felt like you guys let me embark on some uncharted waters there, which I really, really appreciated.
Well, of course. Well, I mean, it's important. I mean, you, number one, you sang it, you owned it, you were the reason. You and your voice and your acting is the reason we cast you.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate though that you felt like you weren't sure that you would be able to go that direction with your career. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, well, if we want to get into the nitty gritty of what's going on now, I don't know how I can, you know, talk about our industry right now without including a conversation about how I'm African American and almost always the only one in the room singing these roles. But even particularly with these bel canto roles, I mean, of all of the companies I've worked with across the board with every bel canto role I've sung, I've only had 2 other African American colleagues in the cast.
Oh no, that's so.
And so, you know, and I have to say, like that representation will change your life. I mean, I did my first Norma last year, and I had this incredible Orovezo, this African American, incredible guy. Yeah. And you know, Norma starts with Casta Diva and it ends with De non vorermi.
Yeah.
And each of those, I was sitting there looking into Neil's face, and you know, seeing myself, seeing African American culture, feeling comfortable. It made a huge difference in my performance. Yeah. I wish that for everybody. I want more of us in the room.
And we as casting directors do as well. I mean, we can talk about like the years and years of systemic racism and oppression that get us to having a mostly white room or mostly white people that come into audition for us, and how frustrating it is as casting directors, as companies, as people that, you know, and wanting to embrace more, wanting to ask for more, wanting to push this art form ahead, and wanting to make those decisions and not being able to. And it's just really heartbreaking.
Well, I think you have to like ask the questions like what got us here? Why are we not seeing more African Americans and people of color in general in the room? And I think you got to go, like the whole conversation comes back to just like racism in America. Like so many ways it comes back to that, you know?
Yeah.
Indeed. We do have to change some systemic structural problems. I mean, I think my experience even in school to some degree had to do, I mean, even in undergrad a little bit, before I got my first big opera role, it was like Treemonicias, and I thought summertime was pretty much like the only thing that I could do well or be accepted as. And I think there's like something to be said about, and I'll just speak for my experience because I don't want to speak for anybody else, but my experience has been that because people are hearing with their eyes, they are not necessarily seeing you in repertoire, like bel canto repertoire.
Yeah.
And so you are not actively pursuing the skill set required to pursue that music, these tenets of bel canto. Which is all this work that we have to do, you know? So to me, it's sort of, I found a good teacher that, you know, she basically sent me to Milan.
And I was going to ask you about this.
From a teacher on how to sing bel canto over there.
Right.
And like, you know, and I had spent the early part of my career doing mostly theater as an equity actor, and I had played slaves, and I had played Negroes, and I had done these things already 8 times a week. So by the time I got to grad school, I kind of had my mind made up about what was my value system in terms of taking roles. So when I discovered bel canto, and I discovered that feels good to me, and like learning how to sing a legato line feels good, learning about registration makes sense to my voice, learning how to do a trill correctly makes sense. Then it, you know, it opens up this whole window of, wow, there's all this repertoire that I don't necessarily have, you know, an example of, you know, people that I can necessarily say, oh, you know, their voice is just like mine and they sing this. But to me, I'm like, you know, my soul, my whole essence, the ambiance, the study, all of that kind of congeals when I sing bel canto. It just makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it shows.
I mean, I just want that for more people, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want that for more people. I mean, if that means we're going to get more people like you in the audition that makes us cry, let's definitely do that. Like,
let's definitely do that.
Like, it's a bigger question for casting. It's like when we talk about equitable casting, when we talk about blind casting or going out of our way to make sure that there are diverse people in the room to offer more and more people those experiences. I think it's so important, and we have so much work to do to make that happen. And it's such important work to do so that more and more people can have the same experiences that you are continuing to have with the repertoire.
Well, I don't want to speak for you, but I think your career is like set in bel canto because you're just so great at it.
So good.
I'm not a fortune. I cannot look into the future, but I know that you are, I mean, like, how can you not?
Yeah.
We shall see. I mean, I sung my second big bel canto role with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be starting rehearsal for another one, same librettist, Felice Romani.
Right.
This will be my 5th Felice Romani score to study. I'm supposed to be doing it, starting rehearsals for an Ana Bolena, like next week.
Where's that?
That was postponed.
Oh, okay. I was like, we can talk about that in a minute. Postponed.
The COVID.
Yeah.
The COVID got us.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I really feel like I turn on in that repertoire, and I turn on in studying those librettos, and I feel like, you know, I want more experiences like that for people like me. Like I'm just like a Black girl from Georgia who somehow fell into this early 19th century repertoire.
Yeah.
And there's like a little bit of disconnect because when this repertoire was being performed, there was still slavery going on in America.
Yep.
So my way of breaking down something is, you know, with that disconnect in mind.
Yeah.
But, you know, it makes me more empathic, and I want, you know, our society to be more willing to hear with their ears.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, I think you're stunning, and I'm so glad that you sang the role for us, and you chose to walk into this audition for a company you had no idea who we were.
Yeah.
We have a question in our chats, actually.
Okay.
Celeste is asking what your favorite memory when working with City Lyric Opera, then our opera, on such an iconic role.
Okay. First of all, playing ingenues is quite fun. A lot of the things that I've played lately have had so much weight. Like, these characters they're inundated by their psychological warfare going on.
Yes.
Adina is smart. She's so smart, and she's funny. And then you see the opposite happen at the end. You see that kind of facade break away. Yeah. My favorite thing about playing her is how complex she is in that way. Like, and I feel that way about a lot of Felice Romani's librettos. There's room in there. You can really break it down as an actor. Yeah. And that was super fun. Plus, I will say my other favorite memory was Jessica, who was just on, literally sewing me into my costume, just sewing. Just before the show started, just
God,
no small budgets on those young companies. Some of the unseen things happening backstage.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
Oh my goodness! I think we have a picture actually of you in your costume, so people can see this beautiful, stunning costume.
We will show it. Absolutely.
Of course. Let me see if I can pull it up. But just knowing, okay, which one do we want to go with?
The good one.
They're both good.
They're so good. I know.
The one that's on everything we ever do because it's just so
on everything. That costume.
Right, of course.
Yes. Yes, these absolute beautiful costumes. We didn't even get into the crazy story that was Jessica, our board member Mike, and I driving to Virginia in the middle of the night after one of our dress rehearsals to go pick up these costumes and then driving back the next day for rehearsals. That was a challenge and a half, but yeah.
The show was visually amazing. You guys turned that basement space into this glorious, there was vines on the walls, like lattice structures.
There were, and we all
I love that production.
We can all thank our significant others from all of the shows. We all had people hands-on, just ladders, hanging ivy with some duct tape,
building platforms. Yes.
Platform building.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when we fully say like all of our shows are such a hands-on experience, and that does not stop at the producers or the directors or the music directors. That also includes their extended family and everyone they've ever met.
I'll tell you what, you have to have some nerve to stand in front of the entire faculty of a voice department, 5 feet away from them, and sing a bel canto aria.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That's how it was, because we were in the round. We were so close to everybody. We were touching the audience's knees and we were dancing.
Yes.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was so good. And people loved it because it's so visceral. I mean, I think it also is a testament to you as an artist, and the whole team is, I mean, I feel like the whole cast was really spectacular at this, but you all would really engage with the audience and make them feel like they were a part of this show. They weren't just witnessing, they were part of the community there, and you were engaging them and taking them along for the journey. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I just can't rave about you enough. I'm sorry.
We have important, yes, we do have another question.
Fourth wall.
Okay.
Didn't have it.
No. Completely destroyed.
Why have one? What's the point in having a fourth wall? Obviously they're there. I'm not going to ignore that you're sitting there in front of me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
We got another question.
Yes. Okay. So Celeste is asking back to when we talk about systemic racism, especially in the opera industry that is steeped in hundreds of years of misogyny and racism, sexism and classism, and I can go into all the isms. Like how can we be more open in the audition and the rehearsal room? What kind of conversation should artists be having, or should we in general be having with artists, producers, directors, and how can we be better as an artistic community? I
don't think that's a big question.
Celeste, that was a huge question.
Yeah.
Okay, let me answer a part of the question. Okay, I know. Okay. I do have an opinion. These opinions are just my own, but I do think that the conversations that I've had with other colleagues of mine that are Black or people of color, you have a little bit of a different trajectory, and you have a little bit of different kinds of opportunities presented to you in the educational process and in the young artist program application route. Yeah. So, my opinion on that is, what we see on the paper sometimes is not, we cannot judge everyone the same. We do not all have the same experience. And that goes along with the whole thing about, I don't see color. And we're saying, well, you better start. Because I have not had the same journey as my white colleague. I just have not. So I would say in an audition experience, or even if there's a pre-screening experience, sometimes you got to read between the lines.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the artist gets to come into the room and you have questions about, maybe there's a gap there, or you're saying not enough to satisfy your requirements, to kind of literally ask about that. Because I know that a lot of us over the years have had these sidebars about, what went down in the audition room and how we can't get into this room because we don't have these things because they weren't offered to us. Yeah. So, I mean, me personally, I didn't do any, I didn't do any large young artist programs at all, because every single time I got offered one, I got offered a show that was where the character was specifically supposed to be Black. Mm-hmm. And that, because of my experience in theater and knowing what my emotional threshold is for that kind of work, I just kind of had to make very hard decisions not to go that route, and to instead go routes like what I did with you guys, which is go to a smaller company, and sing the role that I knew would make me a better artist.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find that, people are a little looking sideways about that. But that is something that can be explained very easily.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and I do feel like if I had not sung Capuletti, if I had not sung Adina, there's no way I could have sung Norma.
Yeah.
Just period. Just period. If I had not taken advantage of these great roles at these smaller companies that I knew in my heart was going to make me a better singer, then there's no way I could have attempted other things that have become very fulfilling, that have kind of been definitive in my young career so far. So I would say that first. I don't remember what the other questions were.
No, it's fine. I wanted to piggyback off that because literally, I mean, all of this has sparked this conversation. We actually started this conversation from a year ago. Megan and I attended a nonprofit management conference, and we'd gone to a diversity, equity, inclusion lab, and we were talking about that. And so we were talking, how can we make our audition process more inclusive? Because the reality is, you're right. There's a lot of opportunities that have not been afforded to Black people and people of color that a lot of white people have been privileged to, and they don't even realize that they've been privileged to. I mean, there's so many things that I've been privileged to that I didn't realize I was privileged to until, oh my goodness, I'm open up to this world and I'm seeing things from a new point of view, Yeah. So I love to hear this idea of maybe the resume isn't, especially in pre-screenings, man.
Yeah,
take a listen to the, I think that
and we have to, if we're going to talk about pre-screenings, we have to also talk about the sort of economic discrimination that requires.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to use a word so strong, but making a recording and having an iPhone to do that, or having $1,000 to go into a studio, is not necessarily the qualifications for finding the most epic artist of our generation.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
True. I think, to quote Jessica, who was just on, opera is expensive, y'all. And it's hard here to be.
It's like being an equestrian, I feel sometimes.
It is. It really is. Well, and to also piggyback on that, we put so much pressure on Black singers and singers of color to answer all these questions, to say, how can we be better to create space for you, to be more equitable? And when actually the problem is not, it's on us, it's on the company. It's not,
companies need to find solutions and be thinking that way. And so we want to continue having those conversations, but I hope other companies are doing the same. I think they are, from everything that's happening. So anyways, that was great feedback. I mean, we had a huge question.
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
And
she basically was like, can you solve the problem of racism in opera?
I cannot, but I will go back to the fact that I do believe that representation is extremely important. I think it's important for everybody knows this on TV now. I know we're just late to the game, opera, a little bit, because they know that if they represent the entire LGBTQIA community, that brings in money. People know that African American artists are selling out opera houses. This is not like an economic quandary. This is it's like a younger generation coming up against the status quo.
Yeah.
Is not necessarily wanting to make those changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But millennials and Gen Z are like,
Yeah.
I like this, Adam, of opera, a day late and $1 short. I mean,
always.
Let's get ahead of the curve. That's great.
I don't know if everybody, if all of us will benefit from this. I really hope that we do, and that change comes very soon. And it's, if it doesn't come soon in those larger institutions, it's not going to stop the momentum. And I would actually encourage anybody who's watching, feels othered in any way, we have work to do in the meantime. Eventually, we're going to get our day. And until then, I brought this on because I wanted to say, you got to do wait, can you see it?
Almost.
Marchese.
Yeah.
This is my holy grail. I would not have been able to sing Adina if I didn't do Marchese's every day for the last 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Sing your Marchese, sing your Bacai, sing your Garcia, and if you don't know where to get it, literally, I'm here, DM me, we got each other. We got each other now, because we have to keep it moving. We can't get discouraged, because we've known these things for so long, and now we're just at a point that we're talking about them publicly. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say that I so appreciate a company like yours who, you're already one step ahead of the curve. You're already having these conversations, even what I just heard with Jessica about audiences want to see themselves reflected on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And, that must be tough as a company because money is very
Money's
powerful.
Money is real.
Well,
and
and money, opera is ruled by those that give to opera, and the reality of the situation is a lot of the people that donate to large companies, much larger than ours, are kind of driving the narrative forward, and those are people that want to see it stay exactly like it's always been. That they saw the Zeffirelli production of Bohème in 19 something, and that was their pinnacle and their end all be all. And the reality of opera is we are an ever changing art form. We are an art form that reflects the times of today, reflects the times of 500 years ago, but we are an art form that is so adaptive and so relevant and so pertinent to what is happening in our world today if we just create the space to make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, these stories they are so effortless. Yeah.
Making opera relevant. That's all. Just making opera relevant.
I'm so sorry, Katie. We're like at the same time very excited.
You're fine. Go.
Excited at each other, and I love that.
Go.
I will say, for me, I have seen, if this is the repertoire that I'm singing in the last couple years, I have seen the icons of the golden era of bel canto, or golden era of opera. I've seen them all. Well, let's say not all of them, but I've seen several of them in blackface all over the internet. How do I make that work in my head?
Right. Yeah.
Because, it's like, am I supposed to still deify the past?
Right.
Yeah.
A past in which I literally I was not a human being, considered a human being. And that past did not have, the right to vote.
Oh,
both my parents born without the right to vote. I'm like, so it's like, I would say to anybody who's not seeing themselves reflected, also the thing that has kept me going is knowing that you don't have to see that, and you don't have to try to be that, and you don't have to try to emulate that, because that's not always all that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. And to be honest,
how else do I say it? It's like there's a disconnect.
Yeah. And to be honest, you don't want to be that. You want to be you. I feel like no matter what lens you're looking at, every artist should not try and emulate anybody that came before them. They should be who they are, be their own artist, because otherwise it's not authentic. And from this side of the table, if it's not authentic, I'm not buying. I mean, somebody else might, but we're not, So I feel like all scenarios, just I hear that. That's got to be tough.
And from my side of the table, if it's not authentic, it's not worth it.
No.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not actually making millions of dollars. And we have to make art for a reason.
Wait, Christine, you're not running in the moolah? You're not
I am such a well-paid singer though. I mean, maybe one day, but I mean, that's just
maybe somebody watching will find this and be like, "Ooh, I want to sponsor her," and you'll get yourself a
nice. Absolutely, yes.
No, I just mean, art has to be made for a reason, and people, us that want to create art and feel that drive to, I want to practice this measure 2 on page 312 over and over so that I can get that perfect portamento. This has to come from within you, and that has to come from an authentic place. Not, I want to be like so and so. I mean, that kind of inspires me for a day, but not for a lifetime. And I want to be in here for a lifetime.
Yes. Okay. And snaps to that. I want to give you some praise. We got another comment earlier, 10 minutes ago, but Vincent wanted to let you know that you were the highlight of our production of Elixir, and brava. Can't wait to hear you again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah. And we
were sweet.
So thrilled to have you.
Yes,
Oh
absolutely. Well, we can continue this conversation going forever and ever and ever, but we will not keep it longer. It has already been an hour with those who've been hanging on with us. So, but we do want to appreciate you. So we thank you so much for coming on and for taking this time and sharing with us.
And what's up? Wait, what's on the horizon? What's on your horizon? What should we know about?
My first Ana Bolena.
Great.
Is on the horizon. It was postponed for a year.
But it'll happen.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. The more the merrier. Let that thing marinate.
That's a big roll. Yeah.
It is not your last. It will not be your last, Ana Bolena.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Bye.
Bye.
Megan, they're amazing. This
was
so much fun.
I know. We've been so fortunate, honestly, to everybody that's watching, for the people that we have come into contact with, the artists that we're able to learn from and to continue growing and working with in these productions. Like, I'm so incredibly humbled by their talent, their grace, their eloquency, all of it.
Eloquency.
It's fine. My English is not on this.
Elegant.
Eloquent.
Those are two different words. Yeah.
There we go. That's a word.
We know what we're doing. I agree. I mean, if it weren't for the amazing people around us, like, season 2 was hard. I think that for anybody watching, anytime you do something, that sophomore slump, I don't know if it's company or what, but like,
Lord, yeah,
it's hard. And that was a growth year for us. And I'm so grateful to have had the people we did around us, including, Jessica and Christine and everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anytime you start an endeavor like starting your own company, there will always be peaks and always be valleys. I think that for me, our productions have always been peaks, and in between productions are always kind of valleys. But it's an endeavor. But honestly, like with Christine, with Jessica, with everyone that we've been able to work with, and the fact that we're actively working towards kind of propelling this art form into a modern age. As Adam said, opera has always kind of been a day late and a dollar short, and we like get around to things about 30 years too late, and it's now the time's up. So it's going to continue pushing things into this day and age, and continue having these conversations about representation and casting, and how we can continue to tell these stories today.
Yeah, agreed. Well, to shift gears a little bit, I want to invite everybody to join us in 2 weeks on Instagram Live for our second Falling Flat Happy Hour. Celeste did a great job last time. The stories were hilarious, and we're looking forward to doing it again.
Yes, and if you are an artist and you are interested in telling a story about an audition that maybe didn't go so well the first time, then please reach out to us. You're welcome to DM City Lyric Opera on Instagram, or reach out to communications@citylyricopera.org to say, yes, I want to be involved in that. It should be a really, really fun time.
Yeah. And then finally, we got to ask, because COVID's happening, life's tough.
We
got an incredible season plan for you, even through a pandemic. We're working very hard right now with an incredible team. So if you're watching and you are inspired by anything we've said, we would love it if you would consider donating to us. If you're watching on our website, the button's right next to you right now on the right. If you're watching on Facebook, we will post the link underneath. Otherwise, you can just check out citylyricopera.org/donate. And we would appreciate it so much.
Yeah, it's so important that we continue telling stories, that we continue making these moments, we continue creating space, and we cannot do that without funds. I will say it for the third time in the last hour: opera's expensive, y'all, and it's important this art form is too important to not continue to tell these stories. So anything that you can or are able to donate, we really, really appreciate.
Yeah. Well, Megan, I think that's it for us this time. Next time you'll be hearing from us, it'll be about Tragedy of Carmen.
Yes, we're really excited. We are, for everyone following along at home, we're headed into our third season. In the concept of City Lyric CLO Retro, we are headed into our third season, so we're excited to talk about tragedy, our first foray into an orchestra and a pool involved. So
cool. A cliffhanger.
So thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks so much for listening and for your wonderful questions and your wonderful comments. And we can't wait to see you next time.
Bye,
guys.